For those of you who don't know, the Irish Republicans who did liberate Ireland from British colonial occupation, they've always felt very close to the Palestinian struggle for obvious reasons, for understandable reasons. The Irish have always been super based on the issue of Palestine in general. All right, let's get started on some good news. Once again, Ireland, Norway, and Spain recognize the Palestinian state. These are 3 states that I routinely give mentions to, and with the exception of Spain, I guess. Okay, I'll just say it like this. Shouts out to all the Hasanabi adjacent states out there. You're doing the most. Welcome to the rest of the world. Because as Ireland, Norway, and Spain recognize Palestinian statehood, we must remember that there is more than 140 nations that have already recognized Palestinian statehood. It's just that Ireland, Spain, and Norway are some of the first in Western Europe to recognize Palestinian statehood. Spaniard here, the Spanish shit is so bullshit, still sending arms to Israel, piggybacking off the encampments. Yeah, Spain is in a unique, it's always the same map, huh? It is always the same map. It is always the same map. It's literally everything is the same map. It's always the same map. Now, the difference, however, is that map is getting a little bit smaller for Western Europe. Ironic because, like, this is literally, this map right here happens to be where 4/5 of the entire planet live. We are talking about damn near every single person. 4 people out of every 5. Like one person, only 1/5 of the planet lives in the gray areas. The rest is just the rest of the planet. It is like an omega super majority. So it's wild to consider that, like, these guys are kind of running the game. They're running the show still. And they will, at least for the time being. But this is kind of what we talk about when we say the Western world, the sphere of Western influence. This is it. But it is odd. Unequal exchange only happens in one direction for most of this, for most of the nations on this. And yet, you know, the great countries kind of dominate the world. But it's good. It's good that things are changing. And they are very mad. Of course, Israel is so mad. F Ireland, Spain, Norway, Spain, Ireland, Norway. It's like, are we for real right now? Like, what's happening? Anyway, let's get to the way that BBC is covering it, and then we'll move on to the reactions of it.
Spain, Ireland.
And I'll also, of course, talk about what it means. The Stop Anti-Semitism account that considered me to be anti-Semite of the week has also been hallucinating rapes once again, doing rape fantasies once again, because they're mentally ill.
Spain, Ireland, and Norway have announced that they'll formally recognise an independent Palestinian state. The Irish Prime Minister Simon Harris said that the children of Palestine and Israel deserved peace and that it was the right thing to do. Meanwhile, Spain's Pedro Sanchez said that there was an obligation to act, while Norway's Prime Minister said that a 2-state solution was in Israel's best interests. At least 140 members of the United Nations already formally recognise Palestinian statehood. Others, including the US and the UK, do not. Reacting to the news, the Palestinian Authority and its rival group Hamas have welcomed the recognition and urged other nations to follow suit. But Israel's Foreign Minister Israel Katz said the move endangers his country's security. He's recalling the ambassadors to the 3 countries. While Irish Prime Minister Simon Harris explained his reasoning for the move, let's have a listen.
Recognition is an act of powerful political and symbolic value. It is an expression of our view that Palestine holds and should be able to vindicate the full rights of a state, including self-determination, self-governance, territorial integrity and security, as well as recognising Palestine's own obligations under international law. It is a message to those in Palestine who advocate and work for a future of peace and democracy that we fully respect your aspirations to be living freely, in control of your own affairs and under your own leadership.
The Irish Taoiseach there. Well, let's have a listen to what the Spanish Prime Minister had to say. Here's Pedro Sanchez.
The Progressive Coalition government of Spain, echoing the majority feeling of Spaniards at large, next Tuesday on the 28th of May will, at cabinet meeting, recognise the state of Palestine. We are going to recognize the state of Palestine for many reasons, which I can summarize in 3 words: peace, justice, and logic. Peace, because this is the only solution to the conflict. And by that, I imply the essential...
I still don't understand why recognizing Palestine is such a bad thing by Western countries, because they're bad people. That's it. I don't know how else to describe it other than they want to do bad things to the Palestinians. And even a symbolic recognition of Palestinian statehood is seemingly breaking through that narrative that, like, no, the Western world is actually unified under the common goal of doing bad things to the Palestinians. That's it. Remember the map I showed you, okay? The world is already pretty much completely on board with Palestinian statehood, universally recognized, damn near, with the exception of a couple countries. Those countries happen to be the most important countries, of course. Those countries also happen to be the countries that are doing the most to the Palestinians. You're always talking shit about America bad, but have you considered America good? I would love to consider America good. It's just that America rarely ever shows me anything good. If it did, I would tell you America good. I want America to be good. That's the whole point of my commentary. If America was good, then I could move on and play Batman Telltale all day, every day, and try to get a Sexo run going. But, you know, we're not there. Now, a lot of people immediately tune me out because they say, oh, your opinion on the matter is tarnished by the fact that you are a campist, or you're a tanky, or you're an America hater. You're a Muslim, Islamist, fundamentalist piece of shit. Anything ranging from, you know, you just don't like America. If you don't love it, leave it, all the way down to, like, you know, uniquely weird takes, hyper-specific takes, all of which gets it wrong. Okay? So for me, it is very frustrating to see America doing such egregious things, such awful things. But I'm glad that there are at least other Western countries, whether it is a consequence of elections coming up, whether it's for their own political machinations, have decided to take a stance against America's Western influence, America's influence on the West, America's hegemony, America's superpower status. Simon Harris is definitely doing this because the leftist Irish parties are predicted to win the upcoming local and European elections, and day one they would have done this. He's trying to get ahead of them. Again, good but political move. Yeah. The majority report. Thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good stream. To Uncle Sam, my real uncle, we are covering Ireland, Norway, and Spain, recognizing the Palestinian statehood. Anyway.
Question of the 2 states, Israel and Palestine, accompanied by mutual security guarantees, as many other countries do.
Spain's Pedro Sanchez speaking earlier in Madrid. Well, earlier I spoke to our correspondent there, Guy Hedgecoe.
Yeah, it's not a surprise at all. Pedro Sanchez, the Socialist Prime Minister, has been campaigning to try and gather support from his European partners for the support for a Palestinian state for some time now, for several months. He hasn't managed to persuade the really sort of big countries in the European Union, the major economies, to get on board with it, but he has persevered over recent months, and he's been working in particular alongside Ireland on this. And Pedro Sanchez has consistently been saying that this is a step that has to be taken. It reflects public opinion in Spain, as well as being just the right thing to do. He talked about this being a move based on peace and justice in his speech to Congress today. And he seems to believe that it's a move which will work as well, given that he has some support from other countries, certainly from Ireland and Norway, in doing this.
That's Guy Hedgecoe there. Well, for more reaction on the day's developments, let's go straight to Jerusalem and join Dan Johnson, who's there for us. Dan, first of all, just take us through the reaction we've been getting from the Israeli government.
The Israeli government is outraged and angered by this move. We've had the foreign minister, Israel Katz, recalling the ambassador.
So, what? Israel is so over, they're attacking toddler content creators? Yeah, it's nuts. And I'm glad that, like, I'm glad that there's more coverage on things like this. I didn't really cover the Miss Rachel saga, the Miss Rachel drama, but like it's crazy. It's so crazy that like CNN is covering it. One thing I do want to say, by the way, is that currently 7 members of the 27 nation European Union officially recognize a Palestinian state. Now, of course, it might not come as a surprise to you, but 5 of them are former East Bloc countries, obviously, who announced their recognition in 1988, as did Cyprus before joining the bloc. Sweden announced its recognition, however, in 2014. As far as I understand, though, the current conversation in Sweden that is being conducted by like Adolfo Hitler and Omega Hitler, but Omega Hitler, social democrat, versus Adolfo Hitler, neoliberal far right wing guy, is maybe we shouldn't recognize Palestine any longer. So we'll talk about we'll talk about Sweden in a little bit. It's like, hey, hello, welcome to Sweden. This is the ruling party. We are social democrats who believe that you should kill Muslims. And here is the right wing party. They are also invested in killing Muslims and think that we need to stop the refugee crisis in our country. That's right. Also, austerity measures are very good. Once a proud nation where the democratic socialist regime reigns supreme, Sweden literally still rests on the laurels of its former glory, okay? Still rests firmly on the laurels of its former glory as all of its current contemporary politics basically rips that entire process of social democracy, real existing social democracy, apart. Okay? Yeah, I remember the Swedish minister saying Israel has a right to kill and then stopping himself. Anyway, lol, they ain't got nothing on our current Dutch social democracy, literal Trump lookalike, Geert Wilders. Oh my God, don't even get me started on Geert Wilders, which is just gay Donald Trump. Like, he is just gay Donald Trump. He is literally, if you like did a European AI filter on Donald Trump, it would spit out Geert Wilders. It's so funny. Wait, Donald Trump isn't gay? I mean, Donald Trump is zesty with it too. Here is another wonderful American Civil Rights Movement organization, the ADL, weighing in on the decision. Shame on the governments of Norway, Ireland, and Spain for unilaterally recognizing a Palestinian state. This was always the wrong approach, but doing so in the wake of Hamas's genocidal massacre is a victory for those seeking Israel's violent destruction. It's just like, dude, you're an American civil rights organization. What are you talking about? What? Like, why does nobody go, that's weird that an American civil rights organization is chirping? You've tweeted that before. I know. There's a couple things that I just keep repeating over and over again until it sticks, okay? One of them, obviously, is calling the ADL the Apartheid Defense League. And also, the other one is consistently saying, fuck copyright. Those are two things that I will always repeat. Dutch Liberal Party is about to be ousted by the EU Liberals for joining a coalition with Wilders' extremist party just now. But I would love if it happened. It's kind of funny how much airtime is given to a few majority white countries recognize Palestinian human rights. Meanwhile, the rest of the world recognizes at the top of the hour. God damn it, dude. It's 11:51. It's 11:51. Dude, it's not even like 11:53. That's crazy. Okay, that's cheap. That's cheap. You're being cheap. That is like the grace period is 5 minutes. Okay, 11:55 and onward. God damn it. I got blasted on that. And I'm annoyed. Okay, I'm very annoyed. Here, let's listen to the Irishman. Okay, because honestly, I got owned. I will recognize that but you got owned as well in some ways, because I was going to say that at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, and NBs. Because we celebrate Ireland here every day of the week, regardless. What a beauty. And at the top of the hour, we celebrate Ireland once again. Come, let us hear you tell. Are you slandered great Parnell? How you slew them Arabs 2 by 2. Anyway, here's the 3-minute ad break now. You can also get gifted a sub by Sakura Gar. Thank you for the 10 gifted subs, allowing 10 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. Here it is.
It is long past time for a ceasefire, for the unconditional release of hostages, for unhindered access for humanitarian aid. There should be no further military incursion to Rafah. There should be no more Hamas or Hezbollah rockets fired at Israel. Civilians on all sides must be protected under international humanitarian law.
We will see a united Ireland in my lifetime. We will see a united Ireland in my lifetime.
Today's decision to recognise Palestine is taken to help create a peaceful future, because a two-state solution is the only way out of the generational cycles of violence, retaliation, resentment, hatred, where so many wrongs can never make a right. Just as Ireland's recognition as a state eventually led to the establishment of our now peaceful republic, we believe that Palestinian statehood will contribute to peace and to reconciliation in the Middle East. A peace that honours the legitimate aspirations of all people in the region to live with respect, justice, security and dignity, free from violence or the threat of violence. Today, moving in lockstep with other European colleagues, we seek to be bearers of hope. We want to reaffirm our belief that peace is possible, that justice is achievable, and that the recognition of both states, Palestine and Israel, is the cornerstone on which that peace must be built.
For those of you who don't know, obviously, the Irish Republicans who did liberate Ireland from British colonial occupation, okay, who fought long and hard during the Troubles, they've always felt very close to the Palestinian struggle for obvious reasons, for understandable reasons. The Irish have always been super based on the issue of Palestine in general. You know, because England was the country that fucked them over in the same way that it fucked the Palestinians over. Foreign Minister said Israel will not let this go. Katz recalls envoys from Norway, Ireland over Palestinian state recognition. Israel will not let this go quietly. Oh no. Oh no. They're isolating themselves further diplomatically from the Western world. Oh well. Oh no. What will everybody do? Bro, no. I don't understand it. What will anybody do without Israel? What will anybody do without Israeli cooperation? No more ways for you. Say bye-bye to Waze and the shittiest techno music you have ever heard. No more Soda Stream. It's like without incredibly invasive surveillance technology and like weapons, some weapons, what the f is Israel good for? What the f has Israel done? Soda Stream, dude? Bubbly water? Is that it? That's it? Ways? Israel only knows one speed, bro. Just killing children. That's it. That's like the best thing that Israel is good at. The number one thing that Israel is good at is just like killing children and then training our cops in the United States of America. Look no further than how gross Sabra hummus is, which I was automatically doing a BDS before I even knew the existence of BDS because of how dog shit it was. It literally doesn't taste like chickpeas. I don't know how they did that. I do not understand how Sabra hummus was able to literally take hummus, which is like pretty similar in taste, no matter what. Like, obviously it depends on like what kind of spices you put in it, you know, how you spice it up, how you season it. But it blows my mind. It just doesn't taste like hummus at all. Anyway, literally all ADHD medication. Teva is one of the largest pharmaceutical manufacturers in the world. Also, all amoxicillin is made in Israel, if I recall correctly. Also, like a ton of computer chips. Well, I mean, ultimately, it doesn't really matter. Let's be real. If they were to try to actually legitimately stop trading with the world, it would be unironically worse for Israel overall. That's my point. Israel has no way to pressure people. Okay? It doesn't. It is a settler colonial state that was literally designed by the Western world and has only been able to be as violent as it wants to as a consequence of the Western world. Without the Western world, without the Western world and its unconditional support, Israel is nothing. It doesn't exist. It is fake, okay? Isn't real. You might as well call it. That's it. And this is something that I've tried to stress to people over and over again since October 7. And many people have even chirped at me and said that I'm wrong. Like, oh, America comprises only 5% of Israel's like overall weapons or whatever. Dude, literally, America can shut Israel down tomorrow, okay? Without ever even firing a single bullet, mind you. It could. If the United States chose to do so, tomorrow Israel was real, okay? It could. I mean, we'll never do it, but that is the reality. Think about it. Israel needs our unconditional support. Israel needs our political cover. Israel needs our steady trade, more so than many other countries. It's not just the military support that we offer, even though we offer plenty of that as well. And its baby-killing endeavors and its ceaseless bloodthirst. America always has weapons. It's extremely funny to see the video mention Hamas leaders thanking them as something bad because most countries don't consider Hamas to be a terror organization. My country doesn't. Almost the same map as the recognition of Palestine, but inverse. Yeah, that's the other part of the process as well. But yeah, Foreign Minister Israel Katz recalls the Israeli ambassadors in Ireland, Norway for immediate consultations. Oslo announced it will recognize the Palestinian state, and with Dublin expected to make a similar decision. I'm sending an unequivocal message to Ireland and Norway. Israel will not let this go quietly. Ireland and Norway intend to send a message to Palestinians and the entire world. Terror pays, says Katz in a statement. Can I just also do another I told you so moment? Remember when I said that if Israel continues to be this like violent psychopathic entity that is like hyper focused on bloodshed, and I said this basically on October 8th, that, you know, it is going to dismantle America's influence over the world. Our undying loyalty, our fealty to the state of Israel and its endless bloodshed is going to basically dismantle American power status. Is basically going to show the world that we have no smoke. We cannot control our own attack dog. The fact that the ICC is applying to send arrest warrants to the Israeli head of state and the defense minister is proof of that. The fact that now you have Western nations, okay, not Eastern Bloc nations in 1988, not the one-off with Sweden, but actual Western nations like Spain, Norway, Ireland coming out and being like, no, we recognize Palestinian statehood too. This is why I always state it opens up new pressure points. It's massively important, okay? America is an incredibly powerful country, okay? We have our tentacles all around the globe. We have 800 or at least 400 official military bases all around the world. We have NATO, which is a protection racket. We have the SWIFT financial process that controls 80% of every transaction that occurs globally. It's all run on the dollar. It is very, very, very difficult to dismantle, okay? Obviously, virtually impossible to dismantle, as a matter of fact. When America says, no, we are going to let Israel go crazy mode, it's really, really hard to push back against that. But due to how resilient both the Palestinians have been and also the pro-Palestinian protesters have been, the pressure is getting to a boiling point, okay? It's impossible to avoid. It's impossible to not recognize. And it is genuinely causing fear in the hearts of many in the American leadership who absolutely will have a very difficult choice to make. How many more AIPAC dollars do I want versus completely losing America's grip on the entire globe and its affairs? I already ran the top of the ad break, by the way. I did. I got debated. And you can tell that people are terrified of it, especially the Israeli officials. I mean, look, Benjamin Netanyahu tweeted this out. The intention of several European countries to recognize a Palestinian state is a reward for terrorism. 80% of the Palestinians in Judea and Samaria support the terrible massacre of October 7. This evil cannot be given a state. This would be a terrorist state. It will try to repeat the massacre of October 7 again and again. We will not consent to this. Rewarding terrorism will not bring peace, and neither will it stop us from defeating Hamas. You make Bibi sound like Bernie? Bibi literally has a Philadelphia accent. Don't even give me that shit. That's what he sounds like. Just to be clear, that logic doesn't even work on the Irish. I'm literally only a citizen of the UK because of terrorism. Anyway, just something to consider about when you hear all of the pro-Israel defenders chirping on the timeline. Yes, Benjamin Netanyahu is from Philadelphia. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. Many Philadelphia boys out here, many Pennsylvania defenders will lie to you and act like he did not grow up and have most of his formative experiences in Philadelphia. He did, okay? You cannot erase that stain, Philadelphia. He also went to MIT. I'm hate watching from now on. Listen, I love Philadelphia. Philadelphia has like decent public transit, all things considered, in comparison to other American cities, of course. But, you know, let it be known that Benjamin Netanyahu is from Philadelphia. He grew up in Philadelphia, okay? Philly has not been doing well, yes. You got the move bombing, you got Meek Mill, Big L, you got the Eagles. There's a lot wrong with Philadelphia. You wouldn't believe how mad the Israelis get when I deny them a stay in our hotel. They literally can't comprehend their actions have consequences to the West. They also stay arrogant like we are the evil ones. So far only tourists, but I'm doing my part. What do you mean? You're denying Israelis a stay at your hotel? I don't understand what that means. You can tell the dam is breaking when even Jerry's having takes like this.
The Jero.
Wait, what? Dave Smith? Oh, yeah. Dave Smith is like a libertarian. Philadelphia has Uzi Vert? Yes. That's a bonus. I think you just created a few more Zionists by going after the birds. Listen, man, I make fun of every state. I make fun of every goddamn city, including Los Angeles. My state, California, is the absolute worst when it comes to dealing with homelessness. Like, I got the smoke for all American states, okay? I got the smoke for all American cities. I got the smoke for all American states. Don't cry and complain when I come after yours, okay? At least you're not in Wyoming. Like, think about that. Thank God every day that you did not grow up in Wyoming and you don't have to live in Wyoming. Imagine you don't got the smoke for my state of Ohio. Bro, okay. German government spokesman Stefan Hebestreit was just asked in Berlin whether the ICC arrest warrants would be implemented. His answer, of course, yes, we abide by the law.
Hält sich die Bundesregierung an das, was der Internationale Strafgerichtshof entscheidet?
Ich dachte, ich hätte durch meine normative Setzung die Frage beantwortet. Ja. Ansonsten, wenn Sie da noch Fragen haben, natürlich.
Natürlich.
Also, es wird umgesetzt.
Ja, wir halten uns an Recht und Gesetz.
This is the one thing, bro. This is the one redeeming quality of Germans, is that if there's a rule that they have already associated themselves with, like, they will abide by it. They're like, what do you mean? It's a rule. Excuse me, it's a regulation. Are you kidding me? What? Yeah, naturally, we will abide by the rules. We will arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. This is not a question. We love following orders. You give us a rule, we will follow it. Finally, Germany's just following orders on the right side of history. It's not even that. They just love following rules. It doesn't matter. Good, bad, doesn't matter. If it's legal, if it's regulation, they will follow. You could flip this entire script, dude. If you could just pass legislation in Germany that says, like, all genocide unconditionally is bad and wrong, oh my God, they'd be the #1 advocates for Palestinians. They love rules, man. They love rules so much. What? Biden officials shocked that Hamas is recruiting people as Israel bombs their family members? Biden officials have become increasingly concerned that Hamas has been able to recruit during wartime, thousands over the last several months, allowing the group to withstand most of Israeli offensives. How did that work, man? That's crazy. I can't believe it. I can't believe that people, when they become orphaned, when their homes are blown up, they go, I am going to do everything in my power to physically fight back against these people that are destroying my life. That's so weird. How did that work, bro? That's so weird. I am so shocked. I thought people loved getting killed. No, but in all seriousness, Germany is considered a pretty central pillar of the international legal system. They just can't afford going against the ICC. It's too much of a break. I agree. Rep Randy Fine says, in Florida, if you support Muslim terror, you will be treated like a Muslim terrorist. Next session, I will introduce legislation that adds any country that recognizes Palestine and Florida's list of scrutinized countries with severe limitations on entities from those countries doing business with and in Florida. Spain, Ireland, Norway will join Iran, North Korea, Cuba, and Syria, among others on that list. Govern yourselves accordingly. That's so funny. Hey, have fun with that, okay? Yeah, that's like 75% of the whole world, dude, including 3 of your top 5 trading partners. Florida depends on world markets. They're so stupid. They're so dumb. These people are so stupid. Yeah, good luck, dude. By the way, there is nothing funnier, to me at least, the way I see it. There's nothing funnier than being like, we're no longer doing business with Ireland. Excuse me, are you familiar with the existence of Ireland? For all of the based, politics that Ireland demonstrates when it comes to global affairs, it also happens to be the primary tax shelter for every American mega corporation. What the fuck are you talking about? It's literally a tax haven. Yeah, okay, good luck, dude. I love that. Yeah, bring all those assets back home, baby. Let's go. Stop trying to bait me at the top of the hour ad break. Oh, I already did it. I already did it. You wrote it like a million times. I already ran the top of the hour ad break. Congratulations on your 6-month anniversary. Take a second off. Breathe. Florida's like, no more Apple. No more Google. DuckDuckGo only for us, baby. Anyway, speaking of how unimaginably unhinged Zionists have gotten, let's take a look at my favorite account on the platform, my favorite website on the platform, Stop Anti-Semitism, which, of course, famously called me an anti-Semite of the week a couple of weeks ago. As you guys know, I was honored by StopAntisemitism.org as anti-Semite of the week. Well, turns out that wasn't schizo enough for them. They're literally still personally, they're still personally hallucinating. Meet Ireland's Foreign Minister Michael Martin family. On October 7th, Hamas terrorists raped and kidnapped his daughter, Abhi Martin, into Gaza. Today, Foreign Minister Michael Martin announced he's rewarding his daughter's rapists with a state of their own. Lunacy, right? Then why are you doing this to Israel? Now, that would be... Yeah, it's that Abhi Martin, I assume, is probably like Jenny or something, or Eva. Okay, that's just Irish shit. I don't really understand it. I can't find any reports of his daughter being kidnapped in the Gaza and raped. Think that would have made it to the news, no? This is a hypothetical comparison for illustrative purposes only. Are you saying his daughter was raped and kidnapped, or imagine his daughter was raped and kidnapped? I'm confused. This is a hypothetical comparison for illustrative purposes only. It never happened. This is a hypothetical comparison for illustrative purposes only. Thank you, Stop Anti-Semitism, for doing unhinged rape fantasies once again. Mihal and Eva is how you pronounce those names. How normal. How normal. Except it is normal for the most rabid Zionist, psychopathic rape fantasies are literally like, that's the game. That's half of the argument is... In this hypothetical, I am fantasizing that you raped, like the people that you're defending came in with one purpose, which was anti-Semitic rape attacks. Okay, they were serializing rape attacks. Meanwhile, speaking of hypothetical rape fantasies, which you hear all the time from those who want to defend Israel, takeaways from AP's examination of how 2 debunked accounts of sexual violence on October 7 originated. It turns out Western media does have the capacity to legitimately conduct investigations into shitty news generation. The United Nations and other organizations have presented credible evidence that Hamas militants committed sexual assault during their October 7 rampage in southern Israel. They did not. The only credible first-hand account of sexual violence actually came from a Hamas militant from a hostage, okay? Once they were apprehended. The rest of it is the rest of it so far, and I'm not discounting it, okay? I'm not saying that it did not happen. Once again, I have to stress this, okay? There's a likelihood that it did. But so far, there's only one first-hand account. Though the number of assaults is unclear, photo and video from the attack's aftermath have shown bodies with legs splayed, clothes torn, and blood near their genitals. Other accounts from that day, however, proved to be untrue. They include 2 debunked testimonies from volunteers of the Israeli search and rescue organization Zakah, whose stories help fuel a global clash over whether sexual violence occurred during the attack, on what scale. Okay? Some allege that the accounts of sexual assault were purposely concocted. Zakah officials and others dispute that. Regardless, of AP's examination of Zakah's handling of the now debunked stories shows how information can be clouded and distorted in the chaos of the conflict. Volunteers' interpretations were flawed. One account that turned out to be unfounded came from Chaim Mazgin, a Zakah volunteer who collected bodies after the attack. There are 2 major claims being made by a lot of people, specifically from the New York Times' faulty reporting that has been eviscerated by academics, journalists, and many other concerned parties due to how shitty their supposed investigation was. Screams Without Violence is the article that I'm, of course, referencing. That article did not, or Screams Without Words, sorry, not Screams Without Violence. A squirrel, gray zone, and intercept? No, that's bullshit. It's not just gray zone and intercept. Or Zay Squirrel that called in the question, Screams Without Words. That's ridiculous. Intercept did conduct a phenomenal investigation into how the New York Times actually concocted this article and found that it did not meet their own internal standards. But if you remember, beyond that investigation, another thing that we found out was that there were also staffers of the New York Times that also did not consider this to be valid and accurate reporting. It doesn't even meet their own personal standards for what is supposed to be the paper of record. The author herself of the article literally had unhinged sentiment expressed about Palestinians in general, which is the reason why the New York Times slowly and quietly removed their association with the person while still standing on the merits of the article, which did not meet their own personal standards. Now, having said that, once again, this does not mean that sexual assaults did not occur on October 7 or after, okay? Sexual violence always occurs in war, in times of conflict. It's very common, and the likelihood of it happening on either October 7 or after October 7 is still high, okay? I'm not going to sit here and act like it's not a thing that occurred or that I know that it never occurred. I will, however, stand by. I will, however, reiterate my point that this is something that requires investigation, okay? Real investigation, not just like listening to the Israeli government claim without a single shred of evidence that it happened over and over again until we just take it for granted. Zakah didn't just make up shit about sexual violence that they perceived to have occurred. They also made up a bunch of other shit, like the decapitated and burned 40 babies. Well, that wasn't just Zakah. That was an IDF guy who made that up. But Zakah also said babies were thrown in ovens. That was also false. Okay? They have mishandled the forensics on they've mishandled the forensics on October 7 so dramatically that there may never be conclusive evidence on what truly happened on October 7. The victims might never receive closure as a consequence of their mishandling. And the first outlets that covered Zakah's mishandling were not Western outlets. They were Israeli outlets. And it wasn't even like 972 and Local Call, which I bring up quite frequently. Those guys are great. It was literally Haaretz and even Yediot. These are not like hyper lefty outlets at all. They were the ones who were conducting investigations into Zakah's mishandling. So that's something to remember. And yet we still continue with this. We still continue with this narrative over and over again. Haaretz, the communist propaganda brother. I know. This is like, if you're super far right, you think that and you claim that. But anyway, it's also crazy because Joe Brandon still repeats a lot of this unsubstantiated bullshit when talking about it 8 months after the fact. Like in his Morehouse speech, he said when he went to Israel 9 days after October 7, they showed him footage of a mother and a child being tied by rope and being lit on fire with kerosene. That's bullshit. Ryan Grimm investigated further and asked Biden's own team, to which the reaction was they did not. He didn't actually see that. He didn't actually see the footage at all. That was not a real thing. It just didn't happen. But it doesn't stop Biden from lying about it. And there is no punishment, once again, something that I always reiterate, there is no punishment for lying in the direction of the American State Department interests. There's only punishment for getting something wrong if you're against America's State Department interests. You can always lie in the direction of America, which happens to also be in the direction of Israel as well. If you're pro-Israel, you can lie all the time. Seems like you're picking and choosing what to believe. It did happen. Seems like you're picking and choosing what to believe. I'm confused by what you're saying here. I'm not discounting that there is a the fact that someone was tied together by a rope and lit on fire with kerosene did not happen. Joe Biden also never saw that footage because it didn't happen. And he never saw footage like that. And his officials have openly stated that it did not happen. Just like Joe Biden never saw decapitated babies being thrown into ovens or whatever the he was also saying. It's bullshit. It was debunked. But that's it. Like you're repeating. You're basically proving exactly what I was saying. You never get punished. He saw it in his tram. He said, wait, what? Biden said he saw it in his tram, said he didn't. You choose to believe one, not the other. Wait, what? You mean his team? Biden said he saw it and his team said he didn't. You choose to believe one and not the other? Yeah. Do you want to know why I choose to believe his team and not Biden? Because this is not the first time that Biden has hallucinated seeing things that did not happen, dumbass. Yeah, of course. Of course I believe his team more than I believe Biden. Yes, I'm picking and choosing. I'm choosing people who are more credible than the 800-year-old man who has lied multiple times now. What the fuck? Why would his team go against what he is saying? And this is not the first time this occurred. White House walks back Biden's claim he saw children beheaded by Hamas. Do you also believe that Biden has surrounded himself? Do you also believe that Biden has surrounded himself with Hamas? At this point, you're basically saying, no, you don't understand. You have to believe the hallucinations of an old man, a doddering old fool, over like zero evidence being presented so far. The question you must ask yourself is this. If Israel actually had this footage, would that not be plastered everywhere? Do you think that they do not have an interest in showcasing this footage over and over again? You would have seen it if it was real, trust me. You haven't cared about this conflict long enough to know the history as to why Biden is so much better than Trump here? I'm kidding, baited, sorry. Oh, thanks, man. Good bait. In any case, let's get back to the reaction from the rest of the world.
At least from Dublin and from Oslo, and he'd already threatened that if Spain made the same move as Norway and Ireland, they would face consequences too. He says there'll be further consequences beyond just recalling the ambassadors. He said this is a distorted step which shows the world,
bro? You're going to treat them like Hamas? You're going to blow them up? Is that what you're going to do, bitch?
That terrorism pays. We've had a response from Israel's finance minister as well, who is hinting that he will react to this by refusing to transfer any further funds to the Palestinian Authority, which represents Palestinians in the West Bank. There is a feeling that Hamas has been rewarded for the attacks that it carried out on the 7th of October, that is how this is being seen by some high up in Israeli politics. We've just had a statement from Itamar Ben-Gvir, the national security minister, who said The countries that have recognized the Palestinian state today are giving a reward to murderers and abusers. And I say we will not allow a declaration about a Palestinian state. I say one more thing. In order to destroy Hamas, we need to get into Rafah all the way. That is the city in the south of Gaza. In order to return our hostages, we need to stop the fuel, determine that humanitarian aid only in exchange for humanitarian steps. So he is suggesting the reaction to this should be a step up in military action in Gaza, should be a restriction on aid to make sure that none of it is going to.
It's so psychotic, but also in a way kind of comical that like every single time the rest of the world, like Western leaders are like, hey man, you should probably not kill so many Palestinians. Like, what are we doing here? Israel will be like, I'll show you. I'll show you. Like the world will be like, hey, you're really restricting a lot of aid from going into Palestinians' houses, like going into Gaza. Like it's really fucked up. Israel will be like, I'll show you. I'll restrict even more aid. Ha ha. Fuck you. And it's like ridiculous. They don't understand. They don't understand that like this is only further negatively polarizing the rest of the world against them. They don't understand it. I get that we want to be careful given Israel spreading misinfo and its use of anything to push genocide, but it's sad to see people just dismiss any non-first-hand account out of hand. First-hand accounts are always going to be rare for extreme sexual violence and extremists like this. It takes so much bravery to come out. There's other credible second-hand circumstantial evidence we should maybe handle with more care and empathy. I understand the instinct not to, but still, yeah, there needs to be more evidence conducted in order to make a proper assertion of what happened, especially as it pertains to sexual violence. I would like for us to be at a place where saying maybe there was some sexual violence doesn't make you a Zionist. I mean, I say that, and I don't think it makes me a Zionist. I say that as well. But if the conclusive evidence is coming from Zakah or the Israeli government or the Israeli police force claiming that they have a mountain of evidence. Because remember, the Israeli police force said they had a mountain of evidence. And then when questioned on it further, said they had no evidence whatsoever. Like if all we can rely on is the word of the IDF, that's ridiculous. There is, however, evidence. There is, however, real evidence as far as like first-hand accounts and testimony, even second-hand accounts and testimony from hostages. So that part is real. That did happen, which is very important, and that was a part of the UN investigation that was conducted. I've never discounted that, just like I've never discounted the likelihood that sexual violence did occur on October 7 and after. How do you dismiss accounts of kerosene and burning but not dismiss sexual violence? What do you mean? Because one, there is no evidence whatsoever for one. It is completely and utterly made up. But there is a likelihood for the other and also evidence as far as first-hand testimony from a hostage. The fuck? That's the difference. Anyway, the problem, however, is that given the intensity and proclivity for the Israeli state to lie about things like this, and also other like non-professional forensic accounting being conducted on October 7, this has muddied the waters so much that understandably many people are like, what the fuck? How am I going to believe this? How am I supposed to believe anything that Israel says? There's a perfectly valid criticism to have against the state that has lied every single step of the way. Many hostages have records of saying two different things. Also, how are you sure Israel didn't force them to lie? That's ridiculous. By the way, none of which justifies Israel's actions. So it doesn't even matter. None of this justifies that Palestinians have a right to dignity, a right to emancipation, a right to live free lives, free from this occupation. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if rapes happen on October 7. Like that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much. So that's the other part of this problem that many people can't contend with. Like, the Palestinian resistance is not perfect. They're not like so good. They have magical bullets, and there's no criminal elements that could have conducted themselves very differently. Like that doesn't change the dynamic for me at all. It's so stupid to act like no, they're perfect. They were perfect on October 7, and they were conducted themselves perfectly. But these kinds of stories delegitimize Palestinian resistance? No, it does not. What the fuck are you talking about? No, you think it delegitimizes Palestinian resistance. Okay? You think so. I don't. The fuck? You're correct, and watch D-Freaks would clip you out of context and now calling you pro-rape. Yeah, dude. Sure. It is ridiculous. I've never been I've never had the mindset that like victims of a genocidal apartheid regime have to be perfect. Although they have conducted themselves in perfectly peaceful ways, and we all know what happened in the Great March of Return. So the idea that like Palestinians haven't tried that is also silly. Let's finish
Senior
this off.
figures in the Palestinian leadership. The Palestinian Authority said they welcomed the decision taken today by Spain, Norway and Ireland. And they've explained that with this important step, these countries have demonstrated their firm commitment to the two-state solution and achieving long-awaited justice for the Palestinian people. They think this moves the Palestinians closer to full recognition, full statehood accepted by all the countries of the world. But the response from Israel is that this damages Israel's security, undermines Israel's right to self-defense, and does not help the peace process in the long term.
And Dan, all of this comes as we're hearing that the United Nations has halted food distribution in Rafah due to shortages and hostilities.
Yeah, there's been a real difficulty getting aid into Gaza, whether that's over the land crossings or via the new maritime route that was opened up last week when the US military put in place this floating platform. We know some aid shipments have been able to get in via the sea route and via the land borders, but then there's a problem of distributing it. There's been a security issue. Some aid shipments have been ransacked by desperate Palestinians trying to get hold of food supplies and medical treatment, and that's prompted the UN to actually cease distribution. We know that very little aid's been coming in through that floating platform, despite the huge amounts of money and the effort that was put into putting that in place. They said they've got to resolve the security situation, make sure they can fairly distribute aid, make sure that it gets to the people who really need it, that it isn't intercepted and stolen. So there is a real issue here. The Israelis are being called on to ensure more humanitarian corridor safe routes so that aid workers can get around in Gaza safely, can do their work, can distribute that aid and get it to the people who need it.
OK, Dan Johnson, thank you very much for the moment. And of course, we've got plenty more on that story on the BBC News website, where we continue to run a live page with